This Jack Trailer Studio. We got Winston Moore today telling a story. Hope you enjoy it. Take it away, Winston.
I got from Chicken Soup for the Soul, and it's written by Paul Villard. The name is Information Please. My family was one of the first in our neighborhoods to have a telephone. I remember as vividly as if it were yesterday, the polished oak box hanging on the wall in the hall by the stair landing. It had a black plastic mouthpiece on the front, and on the side it had a hook made of black metal. And on that hook hung the receiver attached to the box by a cord. Picked up the receiver, held it to your ear, and you could hear what people were saying. Now, I was way too little to use the telephone, but I watched my mother fascinated as she talked into it. Once, she even lifted me up to talk to my father, who was away on a business trip. Absolute magic. Now, my first personal experience with the woman that lived in that box, which was called Information Please, happened when my mother was out visiting neighbors one day, and I was left alone in the house. I was at the workbench in the basement, playing with my dad's tools. I smashed my finger with a hammer. Oh, the pain was terrible. But there wasn't any point in crying. There was no one there to sympathize with me, so I just walked around the house sucking on my throbbing finger. And then I came to the landing and saw the telephone. The telephone, I thought. I ran to the parlor and I dragged the footstool over beneath the polished oak box. I climbed up on it and reached up and grabbed the receiver, put it to my ear, and talked up into the mouthpiece and said, "Information, please." There was a click or two, and then a small, sweet voice said, "Information." "I hurt my finger," I said. Now, the tears coming easily now that I had an audience. "Isn't your mother home?" Information Please said. "No, no one's here but me." "Is it bleeding?" "No, I mashed it with a hammer and it hurts." "Can you open your icebox?" "Yes, why?" "Well, chip off a little piece of ice and hold it on your finger. That'll help the hurt go away. But you be careful when you use that ice pick, you hear?" "Okay." Well, after that, I called Information Please for everything. I called her to ask for help with my math problems. In geography, she told me where Pittsburgh is and Washington, D.C., and the Orinoco River, that romantic river that I was going to explore when I grew up. And she told me that the chipmunk that I caught in the park would eat nuts and seeds and fruit. Information Please knew everything. Not only could she answer my questions, but she could tell my mother the telephone number of anyone. And if our clock ran down, she could give us the correct time. There was a time, sad, sad time, when our parakeet Petey died. I called Information Please and told her the sad, sad story. I wonder why it was that a bird who sang so beautifully and made the whole family happy could end up just a pile of feathers on the bottom of the cage with its feet sticking up in the air. Information Please said all the things that an adult usually says to comfort a person. But I was not comforted at all. She must have sensed my deep concern, for she said, "Winston, just remember that there are other worlds to sing in." Somehow it helped. And there was a time when my mother was out visiting and my sister and I were left alone at home. I was on the footstool talking to information please. I said, how do you spell fix? Fix, like to fix something? F-I-X. At that moment, my sister, who took unholy joy in frightening me, jumped off the stairs with a banshee shriek. Yeah! I was so startled I fell off the footstool. The receiver's still in my hand, and it pulled the cord right out of the polished oak box. We were both terrified. Information please was no longer there, and I wasn't at all sure that I hadn't hurt her. Well, within 2 or 3 minutes, there was a man on our front porch. He said, I'm Pete, the telephone repairman. The operator said there might be a problem here at this house. Then he saw me holding the receiver, said, oh, what happened there? And we told him what happened. He said, oh, I can fix that in a couple of minutes. So he took the receiver from me. He opened the front of the oak cabinet, reinserted the wires, reconnecting them with a little screwdriver, clicked the hook up a couple of times, and then said to the operator, everything's all right now at number 47. The girl frightened the little boy, and he pulled the receiver out of the phone. So he gave me a pat on the head and walked out the door. Now this all happened way across the country on the West Coast in Washington, near the town of Bellingham, Washington. But when I was 9 years old, my family moved the other side of the country to Boston, and I missed my mentor very much. But you know, I never thought of trying that skinny black phone on the little table in the hall. Information please lived in that wood cabinet back home. I grew up, went to school, always missing my mentor. Even though I hadn't seen her for years, I remembered the serene sense of pleasure I got when I knew I could ask information please and get the right answer. When I was 18, I went back across the country to go to college. My plane put down in Seattle, and I had about half an hour between that flight and my connecting flight. So I called my sister, who lived there now, well mellowed by marriage and motherhood. So I talked about 15 minutes to her, and then, I don't know why, but I dialed my hometown operator. And I was so surprised when I heard that same soft, sweet voice, information. And I said, I hadn't planned this, but I said, can you tell me how to spell fix? There was a pause, and then information please said, I guess your finger would have healed by now. Yes, I said, you just don't know how much I missed you, how much I enjoyed all those conversations we had. And information please said, well, you'll never know how much I missed you. You see, I never had any children, and I always looked forward to your calls. And I said, well, I'll be back in Seattle Airport in a few months after the first semester. Is it all right if I call you? And she said, please do. Just ask for Sally. Well, it seems strange for information please to have a name. And I said, okay, Sally, thank you. And if you come across any chipmunks, remember they eat nuts and seeds and fruit. Okay, she said, I'll remember that. And I guess soon you'll be off to explore the Orinoco. Well, a few months later, I was back in the Seattle airport, and I dialed the number again. A different voice answered this time, and I said, may I speak with Sally, please? And the voice said, are you a friend of Sally's? And I said, yes, I know a friend. She said, well, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but Sally has been sick the last few months, and 5 weeks ago she died. I said, oh, I'm so sorry, and started to hang up. And she said, just a minute. What is your name? I said, my name is Winston. She said, well, Sally left a message for you. Just a minute, let me find it. So she found the message and she read it. It says, please tell him that I still say that there are other worlds to sing in. He'll know what I mean.
This is Jack. Bye now.